access to the internet for a blockchain, how they sustain application to all kinds of different use cases. And in terms of infrastructure, you have many progress that has been made the last 5 years. You have the 4G deployed, I think, in at least 65% of countries now, but mostly 80% of Africans still get connected by 2G and 3G. And many of them connect using a SIM card, not computers. I think it's also something really interesting to notice. And the usage of internet are mostly 65 to 70% social media. And because before the internet, especially the switching from the 2G to the 3G, it was really difficult to communicate because of the cost. Because calling sometimes is still expensive because the connection. When we had that switch from the 2G to the 3G, we had the explosion of those smartphones, and people mainly use smartphones and internet to communicate on a daily basis. And also you have a new vision and direction of telecommunication operators, switching from a calling business model, because 5 years ago the main revenue of the telecommunication operators was calls and SMS. Today is the data. So it's a shift of the paradigm, and now questions still remain on how to connect the other kind of devices. As I say, people mainly, 95% connect using a SIM card, so using generally phones. So universities are still struggling, mainly in Sub-Saharan Africa, and universities is where you have the most potential base of developers. And blockchain without developers is an issue. So I think in terms of infrastructure, Africa mainly needs new kind of investment and vision in terms of how to diversify the means by which people connect. I would like to talk also about the mentorship, because in education and training, none of the universities around has really adopted any blockchain program at an academic level. I think this is something government is still working on in partnership with companies. I see a lot of activities going on with EOS, Hashgraph. Hashgraph got into Africa 1 year ago. Tesos is doing a lot of great stuff around, and hopefully all those energy together to bring what really will be the key, how to connect infrastructures to developers and how to train the developers on the full life cycle way on how to build a blockchain application from scratch to the production environment. Also the global partnerships and global collaboration with organizations like Government Blockchain Association, how experts from around the world can bring what they can around. I think this is something that can also unlock the potential of an environment like Africa. Thank you.
Randall. Hi everybody, Randall Pires. So I'm from Atlanta. I'm not sure who was there for us to speak a little bit yesterday. So I've been building wireless information distribution, internet systems in Africa since 2009. And so some of the key takeaways, especially for social impact, is they got massive amount of numbers there, right? 1.4 billion people on this continent. Not only the human numbers, but also the natural resources numbers too. When you look at water, when you look at land and agriculture, and the potential that's still left to be unlocked there. And then, some people say that basically intelligence is evenly distributed, right? So with basic access to information, then you're able to have now tapping into, 1.4 billion people that can now add to that, that acceleration of growth around the world. And working with universities or even with refugee camps, for example, there's one organization that is in charge of 12 refugee camps around the world. So the last country I was in over there was South Sudan, and actually that country went back into civil war. So I've seen it, and I was, the internet guy, so most people don't mess with the internet guy. Over there, so one of my friends from South Sudan, he was a refugee, or they call them lost boys, from that particular country, and he shared a statistic with me that I didn't really think about, or even think about the refugees so much until he shared his story with me. And it was basically that the average refugee spends 17 years in a refugee camp. Right? Exactly, it's too long. And then they're leaving their war-torn countries, and they can't just go out and get a job. They don't have identity, so they can't, make money. And there's some of them could be doctors or engineers or teachers or some value that they know how to contribute, but without, identity that's verifiable, they're not able to get plugged into the job market, so they're still stuck in a refugee camp. And I spent money. I was like, what do they do all day long? It's like absolutely nothing. They're just like sitting there, just all that just going to waste, right? So then with blockchain, we come across opportunities to unlock that potential by having them have their identity with their, when you graduate, the certificates of completion and all the different medical degrees or whatever, that validates that they are able to get back out into the workforce and contribute, value back to society. So that's one of the more interesting, like real life applications that's ongoing right now. So hooking up internet to them, access to information, collaborating with universities, so then now they can also figure out immediate market demands that are unfulfilled or won't be fulfilled, right? Like fintech, for example, to go through 4 years of college when the fintech industry is like, we need, tens of thousands of these types of workers in the next 18 to 24 months. Right? So in Georgia, we actually created just earlier this year a collaboration with the fintech companies and the universities. So fintech companies, they basically said, we need these types of jobs with this kind of skill set in the next 24 months, and we need this many numbers. Then the universities said, okay, well, let's turn that into a curriculum so we can directly get these people out. And then they created a FinTech Academy, like .org or something, with like 27 universities in Georgia. So in 18 months now, they've created that program that immediately, once they're done with that period, they got a job too, because that was the industry telling them that, versus 4 years later, you may or may not have a job out of the traditional universities. So then apply that internationally.
That's great, and it's greater adoption is what's going to win in the end of the day. So I think social impact comes in different forms, whether it's international or within the United States. And social impact for us is also the nonprofit sector, all the people that are really all boots on the ground, moving out there and being part of the environment, being part of the refugee camps, being part of educational societies. One of our partners, Enable, is fantastic. There's a lady that's really connected with, she goes out and sets up 3D labs that prints in 3D, and they print prosthetics. Mm-hmm. And I'll have Jonathan speak a little more about it. And
yeah,
she's fantastic.
It's beyond and it speaks a lot to the same situations in the refugee camps. If I get these numbers right, there's 80 million people in the world in low-income areas that are amputees. Less than 5% of them have access to prosthetics. The regular prosthetics are $1,000 USD. Maria can print these on these 3D printers that she gets donated, shipped over. No, she carries them in her suitcase. I mean, she gets filament donated, and that's shipped from all over the place where the filament companies are saying, oh, we have this overstock. Or, very interestingly, it may be damaged in the sense that it has gone out of a certain temperature range, but it's still okay to be used for these devices. So they can print these prosthetics, hands, limbs, feet, for under $7. So now children that can't go to school, I believe Nigeria, you're not allowed to go to school if you're an amputee. They don't want you. So one of the stories was this little kid, 10 years old, waits for his friends to come out of school to play with them. But during the day, he's actually doing manual labor in the town, picking up stones with one arm. They gave him an arm, and the principal of the school said, okay, you now qualify to be a student. So talk about social impact. And this is one kid. So the magnitude of this, and this is the, I guess, the problem and the solution. But what blockchain is doing for this is those filaments that go outside of those temperature ranges that can be monitored and said, okay, this particular piece of filament was going to this location. Go ahead and redirect it. It's something that Maria can use. She's using recycled plastics in country. So that can be monitored and said, okay, this amount of plastic has been taken and turned into this amount of filament for X number of devices. There's badging going on. All of these machines, all these 3D printers need operators. People in country at location are being trained and educated. They're now starting to print other things. And this was a byproduct no one saw coming. I believe it was in Haiti. They had problems during the rebuild of running out of medical devices, like stethoscopes. They figured out how to print stethoscopes with these 3D printers nobody knew about. So there's this innovation happening on the ground. But once they get trained, they get certified. And now with an identity, they can have that certification tracked with them, and they can use that to go find other work. So it's a very simple thing, but it's fascinating. And what blockchain can do to enable that even further, pun on words there, is phenomenal. Because this is a nonprofit, she is bootstrapped. That she took out a second mortgage on her house. She has to run very lean. So that's where the efficiencies that blockchain will bring into the equation.
I think talking about the social impact, the healthcare is a field who can really have a revolution. I use the term revolution because the way the blockchain can disrupt the health ecosystem can definitely bring unbelievable transformation and social impact. Let me take an example. I had a discussion with this gentleman, and he told me technically it's possible to build a blockchain platform where patients can exchange their data for something. Randy just talked about 1.3 billion of inhabitants. The last year we had a discussion with Jim Nasser, the guy who developed the platform for the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. It's the biggest data collection organization for health in the world. He said, I remember, the drug lobbyists are ready to pay people who share the data because they use those data to make sure that the treatments, the drugs they produce are accurate. So as more they have the real-time good data, as more are the drugs are efficient, so they really to pay for data. So imagine a platform where the blockchain can keep the track of all the actors, and smart contracts can enable all those kind of interaction, and the people at the last miles, the people who go over the hospital, give their data, can get a reward of it. This is a huge social impact the blockchain can bring. And hopefully to work with you, we have a couple of projects going on, especially at the infrastructure level. As I said, the biggest impact, the biggest social impact in Africa is infrastructure first. After the infrastructure, on top of it, all kind of different impact can happen.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Armand. And Africa is, we're talking a lot about Africa because there's a big movement. They're leapfrogging a lot of things in Africa because now they have the opportunity. There's a lot of initiatives, especially in countries like Rwanda, which do have the ability and the money and the infrastructure to get other countries on board. So I think this was a fantastic discussion. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. John, thank you for the wonderful opportunity. We appreciate it.
Any questions?
Yeah, take down questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Please shout it out. Scream.
Catch the microphone.
So in terms of education, I think one of the panelists mentioned education. So what's being done today? For instance, I'm a technical subject matter expert in blockchain, and I work with IBM, but I travel worldwide to enable clients to help them identify use cases for blockchain. And I also train folks on blockchain technology. Where can folks who have a background in blockchain, where can they share their knowledge? How can they go about doing that?
Yeah, I think we need to understand the value, the chain of how to bring a value in the education field to others. You have schools, you have private training partners, and you have medias. So at the school level, the way legacy academic programs are being designed, they are not designed to follow the change. The technology is going really fast. So academic programs will never follow the change in a timely fashion. So they need private partners around. That's why actually we are working on how to bring blockchain academies. Blockchain academies attached to organizations like Government Blockchain Association or whatever, bring together professionals like you and the one critical parts of the ecosystem needing the training. For example, I have a training with the tax department of Cameroon when I be back in December, the training schedule. They want to understand how they can apply the blockchain to tax collection. So this is a category. You have agriculture, you have supply chain, and I think Government Blockchain Association is doing a great job. Why? Because they have working groups. So the first thing is to bring the problematics into working groups. Working groups target a specific domain of expertise where you guys can come in and bring your knowledge. At the individual level, it's very difficult, so we can use organization and we connect between organizations to bring impact.
Thanks, Armand.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, well, thank you very much for that discussion, and I really think that blockchain can make a huge difference. One thing I'll say, you mentioned Haiti, and in Haiti, there's a plastic bank that's doing a lot of recapture of plastic, and when you talk about actually printing in Haiti, that might be a great partnership opportunity that you should pursue.
Working on that.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
No, we've already had conversations with them. And,
Perfect. I'm very thankful to hear that.
They're fantastic.
Great. Yeah, that's just a wonderful partnership. They do such good work. And if you can kind of, bring the two collaborations, the 3D printing together with their recycling efforts, that sounds like
Well,
a perfect deal.
most of what they do is solar, and Marie's doing the same thing, so
Perfect.
it's brilliant.
Okay, let's give them a nice round of applause. Okay, so I've been informed by the team that we're actually going to go and reconvene in the big room there. So let's go ahead and do that.
Good, sir.
Yeah.